morning. I'm challenging all of my viewers to Dr. Gregor's Daily Dozen Challenge. And there's an app and it shows his recommended 12 items that you should eat every day for optimal health. So this is just a picture of the chart. You can download the app from nutritionfacts.org and follow along. But it tells you beans, berries, greens, cruciferous vegetables, fruits, vegetables, flax seeds, nuts, spices, grains, exercise, beverages, and even recommends B12 and vitamin D if you're not getting sunlight or appropriate sunlight. So I'm starting today. I already did my exercise this morning. And now I'm going to start breakfast. So I decided for breakfast, I'm going to do a tofu scramble. See how many I can knock out. So let me see if I can adjust the camera. So I'm going to start with, you've seen me make tofu scramble before. I'm going to start with just some green onions in my pan and a little bit of water. So I never cook with oil. I prefer to just saute with water. There's no reason to add any extra calories or fat. So I did not turn on the pan again, just like in my other video. So it'll take it a few minutes to heat up. So I'm going to saute my green onions and then I'm going to add my tofu. This is just a Simple Truth organic tofu. Make sure whenever you buy soy products that they are organic. And all I did is I drained it and then I'm running the knife through it. It's really easy to slide the knife through. And as soon as it heats up, I'm going to throw these in and squish them, kind of like you do ground beef, to make it look more like a scrambled egg. This is the tofu that I bought. Now I'm doing a lot of tofu today because the tofu scramble actually lasts for several days. So I'm going to saute the tofu. That's going to count as a bean if I eat a half a cup. Then I'm going to be adding my spices. I do have garlic in here, which is a spice that he recommends. Garlic is very good for you. I'm going to be adding some amino acids. This is my soy sauce. Liquid aminos, it's soy free. I mean, it's soy sauce. It's wheat free. I'm allergic to wheat, and so I use liquid aminos. You could also use tamari. Tamari is a cleaner soy sauce than regular soy sauce if you're not allergic to wheat. But I do like liquid aminos. I'll be adding garlic, onion powder, nutritional yeast, which we have talked about to give it some cheesy flavor. Then I'm going to be adding some spinach. That will be my greens. And I will be adding peas. These are frozen. And this will give me another bean. And so I'm knocking out 2 beans right away. I'm knocking out the greens. And I'm not quite sure if I can count any of the other stuff. But I'll be eating throughout the day. So after my workout today, I will have a post-workout smoothie. I will use oats, so that will give me a grain. I've been struggling to get the grains in, and so that's what I'll do to get in my grains. All right. Heat this up a little bit more. Now I'm gonna add both blocks of tofu. You can see it's just those cubes. You don't have to do it that way. You can crumble it. You can even crumble it with your hands. Nothing wrong with that. And I've seen the neat ground beef crumblers that they have. So they have them on Amazon. And you could always just use one of those just to mash it up. Okay, while the tofu is cooking, can you hear it sizzling? I'm going to make my juice for the day. And so you can see while this is loaded with vegetables and even a fruit, I'm not going to count this as any of my boxes because I'm going to lose the fiber when I juice all this. I'm going to be losing some nutrients that I may not even know that I'm losing. So I can't count any of these. On Dr. Gregor's, we're going to stick to the whole food. And so these aren't going to count. Great source of minerals. Beautiful and delicious, but it's not going to count on there. Okay, so most of the water has evaporated and it's starting to stick on the bottom now. And so I'm going to add a little bit more water. And it's time to start adding my spices. And so I forgot turmeric, so I'm also going to be adding turmeric, which is one of the spices Dr. Gregor talks about. So I'm adding the turmeric, which is very anti-inflammatory for you. But I'm adding it just for color. I want it to look more like scrambled eggs than scrambled tofu. Now, why can we include tofu when we're not including juice? Well, tofu is the bean. The whole bean is still in there. And so even though it's a processed product, we're not looking at the beans. It's been pressed, all the fiber and everything is still included in this final product. All right, so now I'm going to be adding my garlic. If I can open it. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of onion powder. I'm trying to squat down for the camera. I might do a split. Will that count as exercise? I'm going to do 4 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. And 2 tablespoons of liquid aminos. Chop in hand. Alright, sounds like I might need a little bit more water. Turn it down. You can see it is really yellow now. Add some more water so it won't stick to the pan. When you cook scrambled tofu, some people like it soft, like a soft scrambled eggs, and some people like it almost crispy and dry. So you'll have to play around with it to see which way you prefer. If you don't like it soft, then cook it a little bit more until it's crispy. It's funny, I used to not like tofu, but I do like tofu now. All right, so now I'm adding all of my peas, and I did not measure. I know a half a cup is a serving. So this is probably 2 cups of peas. And then I'm going to add a lot of spinach so I can get credit for my leafy greens. And if you're familiar with cooking spinach, you know you add a lot and it cooks down to nothing. It's like, I know I put more than that. So here's 2 big handfuls. I'll let them wilt and then I'll add 2 more handfuls. Peas cooled it down a little bit. I could put a lid on it to wilt the spinach a little bit more. That would speed it up because I really don't need to cook anything else any more than it's already cooked. The flavors are all in there. The tofu is finished. I'm just wilting the spinach. Then I'm going to top it with some green onions. And this isn't part of the Daily Dozen Challenge, but I'm going to top it with green onions. They are part of the allium family. They are fabulous for our bodies, cancer fighters, and it's important to eat some of them raw. And so when I put the raw green onions on top, I'm getting those benefits. I did put some cooked green onions in the pan to start, and they're good for you too. It's just better for you raw. Okay, I decided to add an orange to my breakfast so that I can not only mark off a fruit from my list, but vitamin C helps with iron absorption, and spinach is loaded with iron. And so when you combine the iron and the vitamin C, it's more easily absorbed. More people in the world worldwide are deficient in iron than almost any other mineral. It might be the most common. Anyway, and if you have any kind of, not just of sort of bleeding or anything like that, it could also be from a gastrointestinal issue. Leaky gut, IBS, Crohn's, even a lot of autoimmune diseases create issues in the gastrointestinal system, and so it's much more difficult to absorb vitamins and minerals. And so whenever you add some different components to your foods, like when you know to add something with vitamin C, with something with iron that you more easily absorbed, it's just an extra benefit. All right, for my post-workout snack, I have a bowl of oatmeal because I needed a green. I have a half a cup of blueberries to meet my berries. I also put a Brazil nut in here. I have a Brazil nut every day because they're very high in selenium, which is very good for the thyroid. But I only need one, and so I have that. I have a tablespoon of flax seeds and half of a banana, and I sprinkled everything with cinnamon. I also drizzled some blackstrap molasses on top. So blackstrap molasses is very full of calcium. And so I just did a little, I dipped a knife in and drizzled the blackstrap molasses on top. So not a lot. Anyway, so checking off some more things on my list. Okay, I wanted to show you how I put together my famous salads. So I started with my salad base. I also added some spinach and a lettuce mix, kind of hid it in there. And then I put some leftovers on top. So sometimes I'll use a winter squash and I'll fill it with hummus. Today I had some leftover, this is a taco flavoring mix. It's cauliflower and broccoli. I also put on some salsa. Other things I always put on my salad are ground milk thistle seeds. I ground them in a coffee grinder, and so I'm just going to sprinkle some of those on. Milk thistle is wonderful for the liver. Just a tiny bit, like that's less than 1/4 teaspoon. I'm also going to sprinkle on some dulse. This is a sea seasoning. Maine Coast has very safe products. You have to be very careful about buying seaweeds. So this dulse is a seaweed. It's full of iodine, which is good for thyroid health. So I'm going to sprinkle some of that on. Not a lot, just a sprinkle. I also like to add fermented foods to my plate. So I have some refrigerator pickles that I had in my pantry. I'm also going to add seeds. I don't know if you've heard about seed cycling. So that's something I'll talk about in another video. But I keep my seeds in the freezer, and I eat 2 tablespoons a day. And so I'm going to put on my seeds. I also use sprouts. You should see a video down below on sprouting. And so I'm going to add some sprouts to my salad. That is a lot of sprouts. These are mung bean sprouts. And my other fermented food is my kimchi, and I'll do a video on making kimchi. So this is a very spicy Korean kimchi. So I'm going to put that on my salad. So I have lots of different flavors going on, lots of different nutrients. I'm not quite exactly sure how many check marks I'm going to get on this. I didn't need any nuts and seeds. I didn't need another cruciferous vegetable, but I can count some vegetables. I would say that's got to be at least 3 boxes of vegetables. And so I will check that. So that means I still need a bean and a grain to go. Okay, for my last meal of the day, I still needed a grain, and I needed a bean, and I needed some more vegetables. And so I'm going to do a Buddha bowl. I have some brown rice, and that will be my grain. I have tofu and edamame. Put a little bit more edamame on there to make sure that I get my beans. I have sweet potatoes and carrots and burdock root. So that means I met my vegetables. So I met all of the daily dozen items on my list for today. I didn't talk about water and how important hydration is. I did drink all of my water. I think that you check off 6 boxes. I'm not quite sure to meet the water requirements, but all of those are complete. So daily dozen, success.